Hi, welcome to Mimi's Paper Crafting. I'm Mimi, and today I am going to be doing a card that I've been seeing all over the place, and it is a lattice card, but to me it's not lattice, it's fencing, but whatever. Tomato, tomato. Um, we're going to do two different ways. I've been seeing it done. I saw it last night on May Made It for the first time, and then I checked it out to see if anybody was doing it the way I thought it should be done. And that's what's so great about crafting. You can do it the way you want to do it. Doesn't matter. So I have two cards here. I have a normal, like cut at 5.5, scored at 4.25, and I cut off all but 1 inch. So there's a 1 inch overhang. And this one was cut at 4.25, scored at 5.5, and I left 2 inches of an overhang. We're going to be using this Sizzix Tim Holtz 3D lumber embossing folder, and I have some wooden planks, metal dies in here, and we're going to be using some ink. So let's get started. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go in and I'm going to do a voiceover. There's people here today, so I'm going to end up having to do a voiceover. Yeah, so let's get right to it, shall we?
Okay, so first I'm going to work on the 3D embossing folder, and just to let you know, this is sped up 2 times, so you don't have to watch the painfully slow process of me making these cards. The sandwich for the Tim Holtz 3D for the Sizzix is you remove everything but the big bottom base and one of the plastic cutting pads. It took me a while to figure that out. Now I'm just getting out my ink, and I'm going to use the Weathered Wood Distress ink and do some ink dragging to bring out the grain of this embossing folder. It's such a beautiful embossing folder. I mean, truly, if you are in the looking for one, this is the way to go. Tim Holtz lumber. And I was just showing you that this was the piece I used that I cut off the bottom of the card. And now I'm going to trim the strips to 3/8 inch. This trimmer has a on the side, so I can just continually push over and cut. And then I do leave one big section, and I do trim that later, and it's a hot mess, but I do trim it later. So now we're just going to look, and then I realize when I'm lining these up, I need something to hold on to, so I will pull out some washi tape. There we go. And this happens to be, I just grabbed it because it was the closest grid washi tape, and it worked for making sure there was mostly even spaces between the strips. I was able to use the grid and kind of get even spacing. But once again, it's not important. Nothing has to be perfect. The best thing about handmade is that it is handmade. If it was going to be perfect, it would be machine made. And now I'm going to put down the long post. And here is where I think I'm just gonna be able to cut this tiny little piece with this guillotine trimmer. But no, 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 doesn't work. Let's just get some scissors, which is what I should have done in the first place. But hey, it is what it is. Okay, now I'm going to take my Barely Art glue. It's my favorite glue, and I am going to put little specks of glue, little spots of glue on each strip and glue down this big strip. Yes, I know it's hanging off. I do trim it in the end. And for the other side, I'm going to do the same thing. And I'm just estimating. I'm not measuring to make sure it's perfect. I'm just estimating it. Gluing it down nice. And then what I'll do is cut some other strips to make it sturdier on the inside. Because this is not, while this is 110-pound cardstock, it's not the best quality 110-pound cardstock. I get it from Walmart. I believe it's Pen and Gear. And then, like I said, I just cut 2 strips that were the same size, and I'm gluing them to the back to keep this a little bit sturdier. And I am going to warn you ahead of time, I do not put any sentiments or anything in my cards. I don't have a lot of sentiment stamps. I really have to look into getting some. So I knew I didn't have anything for this card. So I just left it blank. I'm also a firm believer in leaving things blank and letting other people fill out how they want to fill out because I don't keep most of my cards. Here I am. I pulled out every flower die cut that I thought I had. Let's not talk about how, when all was said and done, and I finished making these 2 cards, I remembered that I had an entire floral sticker book. It's okay. I'm okay. My boyfriend said I got my hair cut yesterday, and then all my creativity is gone. I did pause to find what to do because I didn't want to bore you with me trying to figure out which flowers to put on. I ended up going with these. A little cluster. This, I can tell you for sure, was in the DCWV, like it was a pack with a bunch of decorative elements in it. It was a 12 by 12 paper pad. I don't remember what it was called, but it had just pages of decorative elements in it that were already cut out, that were already like punched out, that you could punch out yourself. Do you know what I mean? I don't remember the name of the pad, but I know it was Die Cuts with a View. And that other paper was from Echo Park. Okay, so I cut off the wood off camera, and I am once again ink dragging with gathered twigs. I love gathered twigs. And like I said, I cut everything off camera, but I did show you the 2 dies that I used. They're 2 separate die sets. And I decided for this one to go with craft paper. And I'm also inking. And this was one thing that I wanted to do when I first saw the video. I thought it needed to be inked. I wanted to mimic the first one to show you that, hey, you don't have to ink the tops and the backs and everything. But this one I wanted to do with the ink. And if I would have thought of it, I would have put a cow on the inside. I just thought of that now. I do have a cow stamp. I'm so angry at myself right now. It's okay. I'll live. And I think I'm using Lucky Clover, I believe this is called. And I'm trying as hard as I possibly can not to get ink over everything, but I do. I had ink all over my hands by the time I was done. I honestly should have just pulled out my glass mat. I think that's what screwed me over. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing. I still had the washi tape left over from the last card. I'm just going to lay it down as straight as I possibly can be. And then I'm taking I don't want to say the more distressed ones, not the complete straight ones, but the distressed. And I'm using those as my fence planks. And here you see, I only have 3. I do cut out another one. And this is one of the straight ones. I cut it in half to use as the post. There we go. I cut out another one. and it will get glued to the top flap a little bit. But the gaps were too big. I just felt like it needed another piece. I didn't want the gaps that big. So there we go. And then those straight pieces I cut in half and I'm using as the posts. I will also use them on the inside of the card for more support. I just use the part that is not ink dragged. I use the back side. So right now I'm cutting the ones for the back. That way I already have them done for the back. Putting my glue down now, you do need a little bit more glue because of there's a lot of little crevices in these dies. I make sure everything's glued down really nice. And then do the same thing and line it up and match the back to the front. And then we'll take off the washing, and I was going to use these flowers here, and I decided against it. So I'm bringing the flowers back over, and I'm going to pick out a bunch of the flowers. I think I didn't like it because there was so much white. So I'm pulling out flowers that don't have any white around it because I didn't feel like fussy cutting around all these things. But then that's it. That's for this video. I am going to finish up putting up on these flowers, and then that's the end. Let me know down below in the comments how you felt about this style of the split lattice, or I think that's what they're calling it, card. And if you're going to do it in this way, I mean, the plain white is actually stunning and gorgeous, but I wanted to change it up a little bit and do it my way, and this is my way. So please like, subscribe, leave a comment down below, and yeah, join me in my next video, which I don't know what that'll be.